Saturday motocross scene here at Houston Supercross at the Heroes and Legends tent, and I just ran into this guy. Looks super sexy. I don't know if he has anything to do with motocross or anything like that. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Lackey, former national champ and former world champ in the motocross field, not Supercross, motocross.
So you're a badass, officially?
No, maybe when I was a young Brad, yeah, but not anymore. I'm the old Brad now.
Okay, a little more tame.
Yeah.
Before we get into today's world of racing, tell us back in the day, how was it, how was it to get into the pros, and then once you were in the pros, how was the money and that kind of stuff? Give us a little background on that.
It's like anything. Just like nowadays, you have to start at the local level and you ride locally until you get some sponsors, local sponsors, and then that picks you up a little bit and gets you a little bit more, better equipment and stuff, and then you start traveling out of your area to where the big races are, and then you start doing that, then you get where you're riding with, faster people, not just local people, and it's basically the same. So you start at that progress, and it gets and funnels up till you get to the very top of the sport, hopefully, without injuries and working hard. Anybody can do it.
Anybody. Now, who was it that you raced for back when you were a pro?
I rode for everybody. The only guy that has more factory rides than me is Marty Tripes, and we always fight over who has the most. Because I rode for CZ, and I rode for Kawasaki, and then I rode for Husqvarna, and then I rode for Kawasaki again, and I rode for Suzuki, and I rode in between that sponsors, Saks, Wiltaco, American Eagle. Pretty much all of them, everything but a Yamaha. I rode a Yamaha one day.
Wow, that was it.
Yeah.
Then you went and got your world championship, what year?
1982.
And of course, everybody's following Villopoto and his quest. In your opinion, what was the differences? What is he facing, I guess?
Well, it's a lot different. When I went, there was, the Europeans dominated the sport, and it was, the Americans weren't at the level they are now, like Villopoto is. So when I went, if you got in the top 10, that was never been done before, and it's just a little bit different because flying to the races now, we had to drive to every race in a van or a motorhome. It's just travel, and over then, at that time in Europe in the 70s, there wasn't McDonald's and Chevron stations and all that like there is now.
Yeah.
There was old restaurants that you had to get in before this time or they closed down. You couldn't eat, couldn't get a room after X amount of time at night. Things are a lot different. So it's a lot easier now. But then again, on the other hand, I had 12 Grand Prix to race, and they're doing 16 or 17. So they got more races, farther apart, but they're flying everywhere, so that probably evens out. But I think it's just, that's Villopoto's doing right now. You can see it's not a piece of cake anywhere.
Yeah.
He's riding, and the guys seem just as fast as him, and it's going to boil down to who's the smartest guy and who has the best equipment. And Villopoto is obviously championship material, so hopefully that'll all work out for him at the end of that racing. I think having 17 races is good for him because he needed some to get warmed up. The shorter the series was, the harder it would have been for him. So.
Yeah. Well, speaking of today's rider, I'm sure you travel with the series and see what's going on. What do you think of the modern Supercross racer and the machines that they're on?
The bikes, of course, like if you look at these old bikes here, that's a lot of difference. But even from '82 when I quit, when I retired, the bikes aren't that much different. They weigh about the same, they have the same horsepower, we had 2 strokes instead of 4 strokes.
Yeah.
Same suspension travel, 12 inches or so.
Yeah.
About. So, bikes, power bands and all that tricky stuff they have now, all the computer stuff we didn't have. So, you had to operate the throttle a lot more, a little bit more carefully.
More finesse.
Yeah. And other than that, they're just better, but not that big a difference from that era. Then you go into the 70s, like these bikes, leaps and bounds, big difference.
Yeah. Well, it's exciting to see the people to come out. Lots of people recognize you, like older guys like us.
Only old guys.
Only old guys? Yeah. Well, listen, if it wasn't for you, none of this would be going on. And we all appreciate the ground that you guys broke with the sport to keep it going. And
we had a good time. We had fun doing it. And, it wasn't about the money and the glory then. It was just about having fun and racing motorcycles and beating the Europeans. That was the goal.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Brad.
Thanks.
Thank you.